Another one is bringing about something entirely new into this world. And that comes when you are able to become still enough so that you know what the universe or the one consciousness wants you to do, if it wants you to do something. It may take a while before you know that. I lived for years doing relatively little, except doing occasional counseling sessions, sometimes only 2 a week, and the years passed, and I was just continuously just in presence, on my bicycle, chopping wood, carrying water, and the years passed, and I spent hours in thoughtless awareness in London, sitting on Hampstead Heath. 3 hours later I go home, having a little salad, and then having a counseling session at 5, could live on one person a day, one counseling session a day. And I wondered, my mind wondered sometimes, there must be something else that I'm supposed to do. And there was even slight moments of, what am I doing here? But there was nothing else to do than be present, go back to Hampstead Heath, sit there again. But there were long periods also of incredibly blissful states that people noticed, even people who were not tuned into spirituality particularly, say, I can feel something, what is that? There were great states, emanation of peace, but I wasn't doing anything. There was just that emanation. Sometimes waiters or waitresses, occasionally I went to little restaurants, they felt something. But still, nothing. The universe still wasn't telling me what I was supposed to do. And I believe the decisive change came, perhaps I should have thought of that earlier. There was I had moved out of London to Somerset and lived in Glastonbury, the spiritual mecca that attracts all kinds of weird people, including myself. And just outside there was a village just a few miles out of Glastonbury. I would sometimes go there, and there's an ancient, like the English villages, they have their ancient church, sometimes 1,000 years old, a few houses around it. There was an oak tree. I would go to an ancient oak tree in the middle of the field, magnificent, and I had a wonderful relationship with that tree. But that church that was always empty, I went into that church, and one day I went in, and suddenly I had this impulse to say, I want acceleration now. I knew there was something for me to do, but I clearly demanded acceleration of my life purpose. And then I went home again, and for maybe 3 months, 2 or 3 months, nothing happened. I'd forgotten about it already. And then one day it came. It came when I woke up, and I knew, as a thought and a deeper knowing, I have to move to the west coast of North America. Why? I don't know. It wasn't just one day it stayed. The next day it was still there. The next week it was still there. The week was still there. And then finally I had to leave. Couldn't not leave. If I had not left, I would have died. So that was the first step in writing The Power of Now, because I needed to be in the energy field of the West Coast for some reason to write it. And that's how the book started. When a few weeks after arriving on the West Coast, it started. And then it accelerated from there. It slowly went. Just the book took 3 years, with on and off, because I had to go back to England several times. The visa had expired, and I came back. Canadian West Coast, US West Coast. Anywhere on the West Coast I could write. Back in England I couldn't write for some reason. So I'm not saying you can't write in England. I couldn't write. There are lots of wonderful writers in England, so it's, and then the acceleration, it came more and more. But after The Power of Now came out, more, and then it became so much that I almost wanted to put the brake on. But it was the power just grew and grew. But it came because for years I went so deep within that eventually the outer movement into creation, the outward creation, reflected the depths of years of going within into stillness and deep into stillness. So the outward creation reflected the inward movement. It was as powerful out there as it was in the inward movement. So you too will find that the more you align yourself with the essence, the stillness within, the unconditioned consciousness, the more the power will, there might be a time gap, but hopefully not as many years as in my case. There may be a time gap, but that the power that is within you, that you sense when you become aware of yourself as the consciousness, then flows through you. And that is what creates through you, not the little ego anymore. So you don't create because you think, when I achieve this or that, I'm going to be happy and fulfilled. No, the happiness and happiness, something deeper than happiness, the fulfillment is already here now. The true creation cannot come out of a neediness. That's egoic creation. It doesn't make you happy, it'll make you unhappy. Whatever you create eventually either will not satisfy you or make you unhappy. That comes out of a neediness. The egoic creation believes I need to attract something to me. I need to attract this, I need to attract that into my life. The non-egoic creation, the consciousness uses you as an instrument, uses this form as an instrument, comes out of the inner fullness. So the creation comes from within to without. It creates the outward from within, rather than needing to attract something from the outside. Although in language you might sometimes express it that way. You might say, I attracted this or that person into my life, but really it's the other way around. You can only create out of this fullness that you sense when you're in touch with presence. And only for those people who are meant to create. As I said before, there are certain others who will not be drawn towards that. In them, consciousness will express itself in different ways that will not be creating something new out there. It will just be bringing this new consciousness into this world wherever they are, and contributing to the new consciousness simply by embodying it. So it is not the case that the two seemingly incompatible camps, those who say the important thing is to use thought to create, and the others say, no, just be with what is. The two actually need to be together. You need to be deeply aligned with the present moment before you can be a real creator. And you are not the creator, the consciousness creates through you. If you're not fully aligned with the present moment, you're not fully aligned with the unconditioned consciousness. And then it can only come through in little trickles through you, but it's not a real flow.